Business as mission. It is about transformation, good and lasting change. I could probably summarize business as mission shortly like this: to love God and love your neighbor. Business as mission is about shaping business for God and for the common good. Love God, love your neighbor. So when we do business as mission, it's this perspective. How do we glorify God by serving people, communities, customers, clients, staff? So transformation takes place and God is glorified. And it does make a huge difference if you do business for God and the common good, or if you don't. We see that even early on in the Bible. 2 big engineering projects. Engineering with or without God. We had one great engineering project, a guy who built a big boat, a shipyard. He did it for God and for the common good, and Noah, through his business, brought salvation to mankind and creation. We had another equally impressive engineering project, the Tower of Babel. But it was not for God, it was not for the common good, it was for us and our pride and our brand name. And that led to the breakdown of society. So it makes a difference how you do business. And we wanted to do it for God and for the common good. And we already referred to Proverbs 31, the godly businesswoman. And she's not just any ordinary housewife, she's actually a businesswoman. And if we read carefully, we'll see every verse more or less is about her business activities. She says she considers a field and she buys it. In business term, that's a market assessment. Out of her earnings, she buys a vineyard. She makes a profit and she reinvests. And she provides garments, she produces garments. She's in manufacturing and retail. You can read about the supply chain she has set up. She makes sure that her cash flow is good. She provides employment. In one English translation it says portions for her servant girls. That's job creation. And out of her earnings she gives to the poor. She gives to charity. Well, not everything, but part of the profit goes to reinvesting to grow the business. And then the Bible concludes, the role model, give her the praise that she has earned. That is, she is a role model of serving God and the common good by doing business. She brought about transformation for individuals, for communities, economically, socially, and spiritually. When we talk about business as mission, it's nothing new. The term may be new, and it's a term in English. And if you don't like the term in English, you can move to Sweden, to my home country, because we don't speak English. We speak Swedish. So then the problem is solved. Now, business as mission is actually a rediscovery process of old biblical truths and of praxis throughout history. Because throughout history, there have been men and women doing business for God and the common good. It's like Martin Luther, the reformer. Did he create new biblical truths? No, he said, we need to go back to the sources, ad fontes. We need to highlight important biblical truths that have been forgotten or suppressed or twisted, it was a rediscovery process. And business as mission is likewise a rediscovery process. So let's look what Martin Luther actually said. A cobbler, a smith, a farmer. Each has the work and the office of his trade, and they are all alike consecrated priests and bishops, and everyone, by means of his own works or office, must benefit and serve every other, the common good. That in this way, many kinds of work may be done for the bodily and spiritual welfare, not just spiritual welfare, bodily welfare of the community, as well as the members of the body serve one another. I don't know if you like chocolate. You like chocolate? Okay. This one is about chocolate for Jesus. Are you familiar with Cadbury's chocolate? Now, this was started by a group that came out of the Quakers. And the Quakers were a Christian group. They were originally in the UK. Some of them went to America. A famous Quaker was William Penn, Pennsylvania. He started Philadelphia and all that kind of jazz. But what they also did was that this group started Cadbury Chocolate Factory. And these Quakers went into business, had a motto in business, to be spiritual and solvent. For God and for the common good. So in 1824, about 200 years ago, they started a chocolate factory in Birmingham, thinking through how can we serve God and the common good by making good chocolate. So they were thinking through how can we serve our staff. And this was at the Industrial Revolution when there was a lot of labor exploitation. And they said, that is not godly. So they made sure they provided housing and gardens, nice parks for the workers, and sport fields and swimming pools and playgrounds and heating dressing rooms and computer transport and possibly free chocolate, I don't know. And they also provided morning prayer and daily Bible readings. And this is something you can read about in this book by a descendant of Cadbury, The Chocolate Wars. And they describe what we today would call business as mission. So it's nothing new, but we have quite often, of course, not you in Hong Kong, but the rest of the world, we have often missed the point. And we have created a hierarchy. We have created a pyramid of Christ instead of practicing the body of Christ. So in the pyramid of Christ, which you cannot read about in the Bible, we have the pastors and the missionaries on the top. Like Linda. Are you here, Linda? Yeah, she's in the back. You know, she used to be a missionary in Mongolia. Had a very nice halo. And she was a missionary. Now, if you can't make it all the way to the top, you know, where we say, hey, these are the people in the full-time ministry, maybe you can work for a nice charity, you know, like the Red Cross or something like that. Or at least a people-caring profession, like a doctor or nurse and teachers, people who are nice and take care of you. And if not, I guess you can be an IT engineer or something like that. But then you have the worst of people, like Tony. They don't even make it to the pyramid. They're under the pyramid. They're the business people. They're bad because they're dealing with profit and mammon. So what we then suggest, sometimes even at our mission conferences, oh, if you want to serve God, get into full-time ministry, could you please climb the pyramid? Because this is where you serve God. Does that sound familiar? Yes or no? Yes. And the sad thing is that most people have never seen this picture, but basically everybody recognizes it. And that's why we need to work through a mental paradigm shift. And that's what we're doing in the Business as Mission movement. No, there is no pyramid to climb. Relax. Stop climbing. So if God has called you to business, don't lower yourself to become a pastor. Oh, sorry, James. There is no higher and lower. What God has called you to do, that is your highest calling. Now, so we are still struggling as a church worldwide with these issues. Now, if we look back and try to learn from history, not judge people who have gone before us, but only try to look and learn. Get missions to Africa. What can we observe? Africa is some of the most Christian countries in the world in terms of numbers of Christians, some of the poorest countries in the world, and some of the most corrupt countries in the world, and these are often the same countries. What's wrong with this picture? Is that an expression of kingdom of God? Is that transformation? It's a limited transformation. And here we need to think through, what is our goal? Are we satisfied with church growth, or do we want to look at holistic transformation? Because see, for church growth is our major definition of our work and our mission. Rwanda is the ultimate success story in the history of mission in the 20th century. He went from 0 to 90% of the population becoming members of various churches in 100 years. But also in 1994, we had the genocide, 1 million people killed in 3 months. Christian killing Christians. Rwanda had people in church, but not church in people. So in Business as Mission, we're looking at how can the gospel transform the whole of society, including the marketplace. So this works great in English, breaks down in many other languages, but there's going to be 5 words that all start with P. And one of them, we want to have a global outlook to all peoples, and with that we want businesses to serve people, align with God's purposes, be good stewards of the planet, and make a profit. That is the 4 bottom lines. To put it differently in 5 other ways, we're talking about real business, not fake businesses, not just having getting a visa to another country. That's business as fake. This is not just a fundraising method. This is for mission. No, this is business as a mission. We are on a mission to serve God and the common good through business. We're looking at it holistically. We believe in evangelism, we believe in church planting, but it's more than that. It's kingdom of God being expressed by serving the poor, bringing freedom to human trafficking victims, giving dignity to handicapped people by providing employment, and many, many other things. So we can see transformation take place. And business is a godly instrument, not a distraction. How many of you like classical music? How many of you like Johann Sebastian Bach? That's the right answer. Thank you. And it's not pronounced Bach. That's what Americans say, but sorry. It's called Bach. Now, so Bach was a good composer. Do you think anyone ever came into the church where Johann Sebastian Bach was playing on the organ and say, "Johann, what are you doing? Why are you spending so much time practicing on the organ? Isn't that a distraction for making music?" No, the organ was the instrument that God had given to Johann Sebastian Bach so he could create beautiful music to the glory of God. Because that's what he wrote on every score of every composition he did, to the greater glory of God. Likewise, business is not a distraction. It's not that something that takes too much time. No, that is the instrument that God has given some of us to create beautiful music to God's glory as we serve Him and people. You with me? All right, that's good. Nobody has walked out yet. Is that a good sign? We need to have an emphasis on small and medium-sized businesses. Why? Because we know that these are strong transformational agents, and we're about transformation. And the challenge before us is too big for us to settle for micro. Not that micro is wrong, but we need to think bigger. You can start with micro, it can grow big. I mean, even Microsoft did. Business as mission is taking Acts 1:8 seriously. Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, to the ends of the earth. And we're saying we're not settled in Jerusalem. We need to move on. And especially have a focus on the Arab world and Asia, because we find a concentration of many needs: unreached peoples, poverty, unemployment, youth, human trafficking. We don't have time for a deeper analysis, but if we were to look at these things, we see how they actually connect. And the common denominator here is unemployment, lack of jobs, jobs with dignity. So it's a business people hold some very strategic keys to serve the unreached, the poorest, the unemployed, and the youth, and for prevention of human trafficking. The number one root cause for human trafficking is unemployment. So we can never talk about adequate prevention unless we talk about jobs with dignity. Now, I have some good news and I have some bad news. Let me give good news first. In our generation, we've seen a dramatic decrease in poverty worldwide. And studies show very clearly that business are key to this reduction of poverty. Not handouts, not aid, but business. So this is an affirmation that business can serve to transform nations and people. At the same time, we see another curve, and that is the global rise of youth unemployment, especially in India, Arab world, parts of Southern Europe, but also in other parts of the world. Just to give you one example, in March this year, the government in Nigeria said, we have 5,000 jobs available. More than 500,000 people showed up to apply for 5,000 jobs. It was such a riot and so forth. It was a stampede, and people were killed and injured. This is just one case, and many of us never see this. But there is actually a lack of 1.8 billion jobs globally. So we basically have two response mechanisms. One is, I don't care. Or number two, how can we as Christians, together, church, mission, and business, serve these people who have a great need for jobs, and jobs with dignity? As we do this, we need to recognize that we are in a triangular drama. Because I can tell you, I've been doing this for about 20 years around the globe, and it sometimes becomes pretty dramatic, traumatic, when you try to bring church and mission and business people together. Somehow we need to think through, and that's why I'm glad in this room today we have people will focus on church or mission or business, and we need to find ways of how do we work together. And why is that important? Well, the church needs to affirm, equip, and deploy people to service, also in the marketplace. Mission agencies make sure we don't get stuck in Jerusalem, but we have this global thrust to all peoples, to the ends of the earth. And mission agencies have special core competencies towards that goal. At the same time, we need to do real business. Having observed business as mission initiatives around the globe now for 20 years on all continents, one of the most common factors for failure is that it is the wrong people trying to do the right thing. Not engaging business people to do business for God and the common good. So, as we're looking at ways of working together in this triangle, and it doesn't necessarily have to be formal, that's not the point, but what can we learn from one another, where can we cooperate? We should recognize we should cooperate when needed and possible and beneficial, but we mustn't confuse. Since many of you are representing mission agencies, be aware of this. When you look at churches and mission agencies and NGOs on the one hand, and businesses on the other hand, we operate on different paradigms. A non-profit paradigm, a for-profit paradigm. You can't, as a mission agency, say, well, we're doing literature, children's work, and we have some orphanages, and now we're going to have a business as mission program too. They're two different paradigms. Not good or bad, black or white, it's just different. So we have different ways of operating. And different skill sets are needed. And we need to recognize there are different legal entities. And if we don't do it right, we may do something illegal. So, in traditional mission work, we operate as non-profit, registered charities, or something like that. And there you have a business for profit. So here you operate on donations. Here is investment. When you give to church or to mission, people don't expect it, if you give offering us on a Sunday morning, they don't come the next Sunday and say, can I have my money back now? Right? I don't know, maybe there are churches like that, but I haven't. Whereas here, people invest, and you talk about return on investment. Then there's another immediate issue. We need to expand our understanding of return on investment. So return on investment can be social and spiritual and community-wide, and not just in money terms for an investor. Here we do a project plan and a budget, and then we raise some funds, and then we do it, and then sometimes it works and sometimes it didn't. And here we do a business plan, and sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. Sometimes it works anyway. We have missionaries and business people, and these raise support, but people in businesses, they actually expect to get a salary. It's not rocket science, maybe, but I've seen it. That's why I have it here, is because I've seen so many times over the years when groups here want to get into BAM, this is the paradigm, this is the modus operandi. They think we can just do this over here. Now think through what is what. So cooperate, but don't confuse. Does that make sense? We're almost done, as you can see, so there's hope. I often get a question, so what's the difference between this and tent making? Now, they're complementary emphasis, so they're not opposed to one another. Sometimes you talk about marketplace ministries in general. And in one sense, one may say marketplace ministries in general are focusing on every Christian in the world that holds a job outside the church. And that's good. That's quite a few people. And they often think about how do we do that in our Jerusalem. And that's often where many tent makers are as well. And these are good stuff. In Business as Mission, we're thinking, how do we shape business for God and for the common good? So here we have the job makers. Here we often have those who take up a job. Doesn't mean they take it from somebody else, they just have a job. All right? We often focus on the entrepreneurs, the owners and operators, but not exclusively. And here's the employees in general. Here we're looking at how do we shape business? How do we start and grow businesses, small, medium-sized, and beyond, who can have a holistic impact on people, on communities, and nations, have a positive impact economically, socially, environmentally, and spiritually. And to be able to shape a business, you need to have a major influence on that business. And there you focus on work in general. There is often the focus on that societal transformation, and tent making is often focusing on witness and testimony at work and through work. So they're complementary. It's not either or, not good and bad, just to have a little bit of a distinction. So, how can you get involved? Well, you came to the first Hong Kong BAM Summit. That's good. And there's always more to learn. Tony and team has made sure there's now a lot of Business as Mission material in Chinese at ChineseBAM.com. We have a global think tank on Business as Mission with 30 plus working groups from all over the world looking at to these issues. What does it mean, Business as Mission in Mongolia and Bangladesh, in Latin America, and so forth, but also when it comes to business as mission, church planting, human trafficking, poverty, doing business as mission in Haiti, and so forth. And all those reports, which is the best quality thinking that's done in our generation on this by the key people who are doing it. You can find that here at the bamthinktank.org. Preach, teach, and share. If you're a pastor, affirm, equip, deploy business people into the marketplace. Then you can invest. Tony Chun Chang-ong, who will speak here later, and we are associated with a group called IBEX, and we focus on the 1040 window, how to grow businesses in size and impact, especially among unreached peoples. And you can become an investor with us. Partners Worldwide is another good group. And what's your name again? It's a good friend of mine. What's your name again? No, I'm just kidding. Doug Seebeck will share later. So you can also become a mentor. Many business people are saying, hey, could you help us? What's your experience? Thinking through how do you shape business for God and common good? Because that's what we need to do, review and reshape businesses. And the sky is not the limit. There's so many things you can do. And then lastly, the best things in life are free. Love, care, and my website. Thank you. So you have some of that I've been sharing right now is in your folder. Business as Mission is golden.